Hey, this is Kev at Wonderland. We're back with our seed series. This is Ben from Emerald Mountain. I want to thank Shango Las, our sponsor from Shape and Fire. Thanks so much for tuning into this. We're just having a really good time, and I think we're having a really positive vibe going down with the breeder, interfacing with the farmers here at the shop, and with people calling in online, and with just the stream in general, and being able to get this information archived so that people can go back and listen to what these guys have to say and really catch the pieces. I know it's been a while. I was good friends with his brother. His brother was a highly esteemed breeder in the area, known primarily for Royal Kush. He worked a number of lines. He was also known for really bringing in the OGs and the Sours into Humboldt County. He was the first person to distribute those cuts in any known quantity. At the time, a few pieces were popping up. So when Kush popped up as a kingdom, it begins slowly and then it stops. Guys like his brother Mac was able to get these genetics into the hands of the farmers here, and then once that occurred, the industry actually exploded because now you started to have enough Sour and OG to actually become an industry. And so I still hold cuts from that initial piece. I still hold the SFV and that Hollywood 91 from your brother's initial release.
You're good at that. That's your specialty.
Yeah, and so it was some foundation stuff, and then they do the Royal Kush. And the same thing, I hold a line from one of his original releases on that one. And some of these things make up, the modern industry as we know now in terms of things that are woven into all the breeds. Most of the Royal hybrids are all top 5 in the Emerald Cup, and it's really from work that was done through himself and his brother and the crew that was involved in it. And it's a pleasure to have him here today. So Ben, and welcome.
All right, thank you for the introduction. And I gotta pay some respect to Kevin here. I don't think we would still have all of our genetics if it weren't for this guy. Been through the ringer a little bit here and there, and he helped us keep our catalog going. So thank you for that.
You're welcome, man. We all roll.
He's just doing what he does, and he's a master. So we're glad to be here working with him. I'm not sure where to go from here, but
you took over your brother's work. Let's just talk about some of the lines you're working on. You brought by some stuff to the shop, and I know you got some cool directions you're going. So let's talk about that.
Sure, we keep going with the Royal. We're at F8 now, I guess. We got a nice stable seed stock of the Royal, and we're at F3 with everything else, like the Royal Sour and the Pure Royal. Mm-hmm. Got a few other good things like the OG Truthband, and let's see, we got Royal OG Truth. We're just kind of keeping it all in the family. My brother's strategy was to breed with really semi-similar stock so that it meshes well together.
And people use your stock in a lot of the breeding projects because you end up getting a much more truer breeding progeny.
Right.
And a lot of the traits that you guys did, you did some big initial selections when this was going on.
Right, we did huge numbers, like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah, no, and like the Royal line's all out of Albion, so the fungal resistance is just woven through this stock.
Indeed.
Someone just dropped off. I just got an old school Truth. The Royal Truth, maybe, but once I get it cleaned up, I'll get you a copy.
Awesome.
But a farmer just brought me by a cut. Yeah, because this.
Everyone's working the lines now.
Yeah. So I got some good stuff. But
dude, I've gotten so much cool stuff on friends from Instagram just being like, "Hey, I have 10 crosses of your Royal Kush. You should try them out." Or and that's, I think, the most exciting thing is to see people be really passionate about my brother's legacy.
Beautiful.
It's a really cool thing to see happening.
Where are you based out of now?
We're in Comchi, down in Mendo, in between Ukiah and Mendocino. It's another very wet climate there, so, we do all our breeding outdoors to keep the acclimatization on track, So
completely, your stock.
That's why all of our stock is so mold resistant, because it's been bred for 10 years in the middle of a rainforest, basically.
Nice. The qualities of it, the Royal lines we work with, the problem you have nowadays with so much genetics is that they have incredible qualities, but with the modern fungal sifting system at the laboratories, it's very difficult, and we really can't even have beneficial bacteria on the surface of the plant because people misread it. And so what you have to have is plants that really can just handle the environment through epidural resistance and not through biologic resistance on the surface. And that's why I love the Royal so much, because it just straight goes through a rainstorm and doesn't rot.
And the outdoor growers around here, they need that. And,
we do.
Your farm doesn't survive without a good, something hardy that can handle anything you throw at it, And that's, I think, what the Royal has to offer. Definitely.
Nice. Are you desiring to go any different directions? Are you?
We definitely are,
yeah,
but right now I feel like just keeping with my brother's intent and direction, you know. But you know, I have a lot of things that I'm interested in too, and it, like, we will have some lines that are more influenced by my own preference. But I
Gotcha.
think, generally speaking, I want to keep what he had going alive and well, you know. So.
Are you working with your other brothers still too?
Yeah, my younger brother. He's real busy. He back and forth between here and Portland all the time, but hopefully he'll be here with me next time for this sort of thing.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I know that you have a family member that's ill too. I believe it was.
Yeah.
And so I would like to talk about that maybe, because
Sure.
it's a pretty it's a important awareness.
Yeah. Well, you know, my nephew had a run of bad luck, basically. He got really incredibly bad flu, and something about it interfered with his liver enzymes. His liver enzymes interfered with his blood iron levels, and he had a stroke, basically, and he's only 4 years old. So it was pretty harrowing, you know. We weren't sure a couple of months ago if he was going to be his full self ever again, but, you know, just recently he's been walking and playing, and he's getting better so rapidly that we're real confident that he's going to make a full recovery. So, yeah, we've been through it, but it, you know, he's on his way back up, and we're real hopeful.
Yeah, I know there was a charity. I know that Jackson, Mean Gene, put one on.
Yeah, dude.
And it seems it was like I know we participated in it. Oos, my partner from here, was involved in it, and
Right.
it just seemed like there was an incredible amount of outpouring of support.
There was,
yeah.
and you know what I can say about that is that beyond all the financial support that we got through that, which was amazing, it was just so spiritually uplifting to see so many people who cared about him and that were there for his family when they needed it, you know. More than the money, it was just really nice to see all of that support.
It was
it helped us heal
genuine.
as a family.
No, it was genuine. That's why I was saying it kind of caught me, because there was a lot of people that, you know, they really didn't know your brother.
Right.
And they don't even know the little boy, but they know that he passed away, and they know that so many people are benefiting from the work that he did.
Right.
It
just pulled up so much compassion.
Yeah, it made people see it a little different, and it was beautiful. I don't think, and you know, Gene's a gentleman in every sense of the word, so people had, you know, total faith that it was
right.
From the heart kind of
and
thing.
you know,
yeah.
I gotta say about Gene, he's got the biggest heart of anyone I've ever met,
He's a
and
beautiful guy.
he's done so much for us in our time of need. You know, get all teary-eyed just thinking about it. But that guy's really just an amazing person, and has, you know, the network of equally amazing people behind him to do this sort of thing.
Yeah, no, it was good that before your like I said, your brother passed away prematurely, but it was great that before he got to pass away, he got to meet some of these guys that are in the modern world that were working off of that clone.
Right.
And so once he got to meet Gene and Leo, they were able to start to work collaboratively on a lot of this stuff on, hey, this is what I had done, this is what you're doing, how do we work together? And you got to see some of this stuff really take off. And
yeah, and you know, those guys have a special skill that
they just very good selection skill.
Yeah, and just I don't even know what it is. They're very knowledgeable, but they are just very good at getting in all the right places in the industry as well. And I think they, you know, catapulted my brother's genetics into, you know, the notoriety that it has today.
Yeah, he created. Well, the thing was, you know, that they did, but your brother did the work, and then, you know, he took off out. He, like all of us, you know, we were kind of toasty at times.
And he was paranoid. He didn't.
Well, he was paranoid because he do reason, you know, and so he vanishes for a while, and like I said, that's when I held all his gene lines.
Right.
I didn't even, and I just held him because, like, he vanished overnight. And
Right.
I was
Who
like, well,
knew?
maybe,
Right. Yeah.
and I figured anytime anybody I know disappears, I know why you're disappearing. So we kept all this genetic material in stasis, and then I released it to certain people in small forms because it was important quality stock. And when he came
And that's
back,
what he wanted. He wanted it all to get out there.
No, he wasn't tripping. He wasn't a hoarder like that. There was certain things that like I never released his turpentine. And so the turpentine was something that he gave me, and he said, hey, just do me a favor, don't release this. So I never released it. And so but he was able to get it back when he came back into the
Sure.
state. So I gave him back the turpentine, but no one ever got a chance to play with that cut.
Right.
It was nasty too. I wish they had, but it was just, that's just how it is. There's some things that you hold because you're trying to work a direction yourself, and then there's some things that you don't mind moving, and there's some things that are like, hey, let's just get it in the system because
Right.
it is.
Sure.
And so your brother was hella free with the genes.
Indeed.
And he was always moving, and he had a lot of smart guys around him too that were gene freaks, and so I got to meet him a lot of characters. And I remember I used to go over to, because he had a warehouse down the street.
In Arcata, right across from NHS, or where
so
it is
he had,
now.
He had the hidden. Oh, we got some questions. We had some good times hanging out. All right, what you got?
We've got Nicola wants to know about any CBD projects.
We are working on them, but we don't have any seed stock prepared yet. We have some friends that's all they do is CBD, and we're working with them now. We have like the plants growing, but we haven't even selected anything yet. We're just starting out with that now. But I'm really passionate about it because CBD is really helping my nephew recover.
And if you had the Royal Turks,
I didn't. I always knew it was powerful, but I watched it happen with my nephew, and it's amazing. So I'm committed to working with that going forward.
We have another one. If you could pick one strain to run an entire GH, what would you run?
Royal Kush, definitely. It's very mold resistant, and greenhouses tend to have a little bit of issues with that.
And super desirable in the terpene profile, meaning that anything it touches, it increases the desirability. And so you end up having, right now, that's pretty much a selling point, is high desirability, high velocity through terp, and I'm telling you, the Royal is stamping some stuff.
Got another one about the Royal. What are the parents of the Royal, and what role did Maui and the Topanga Canyon Pure Kush backcross project have in working the Royal line?
Well, neither of those two are actually in the Royal line itself. It's AJ's Sour Diesel, Southern Humboldt Purple Kush, and Salmon Creek Rock Bud, which is also Highland Afghani, is what most people know it as. So it's a three-way, but it's been backcrossed with each of the different parentage or parents at different points. And now, after all of that, it's just been stabilized through cubing, basically, with the original mom. So it's, doesn't have anything other than those three strains in it, but it's not exactly a typical blend of three strains like you would expect from just a new cross.
It comes out, if you're running just the Royal seed, it's super typey, meaning that you get an incredible consistency within the phenotypes. And then I've run the Royal into the pure Royal, and then see, as far as your brother, his view on OG was that the SFV cut that he had, the SFV cut that I got from him, took 14th at the Emerald Cup out of like 740. So my off-the-shelf SFV cut here at the shop is the cut I got from your brother, and it is 14th out of 740, right? So it's the nicest SFV cut on the earth. But the Hollywood 91, the Topanga that I got, he called that basically the lime pheno. So to him, the Topanga and the SFV were basically the bookends of OG spectrum, and everything else in the middle you could find throughout. And the quality, the high of the 91 was so incredible, and the 91 has a super mold resistance better than a lot of the other OGs. And he wove it into some of the stuff, and I wish I used to have a Killer Pure Royal Cup, but you know how it is, you don't keep everything.
We have an F3 seed.
Oh,
of that.
nice. I'll go,
because
I still have that Topanga. So I still got the Topanga, and I still have that SFV. So if you don't have either one of those, you can get copies of them.
I gladly will take them.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There's one more.
We got more questions.
Yeah, and what specific traits do you look for when you're selecting breeding males?
The most important thing, I think, I guess it depends on where you are in your breeding process. But if it's an original cross, two different strains, I select based on similarity, like the number of blades or serrations on the leaf. I'll count each serration, and I'll find a male and female with the exact same number and close to the same stem smell if you rub the bottom of the stem. And you just want to find things that look like they'll be compatible first out of the gate. And then once you're selecting once you have your original cross and you're selecting for traits, then you'll just select for those traits. But initially, you won't ever end up with a stable line if you don't find compatible breeding partners at the beginning.
Yeah, that's what I was talking with a friend that just to make it easy for what he works all morphological characteristics first. So frame, blade, overall. And then from there we can start to get a population that all look like that, and now we can find the specifics that have tonal varieties,
Right.
qualities we want. But otherwise it's just too much polyhybridism going on, and you don't really
And
know.
you
what
can't
you're
get a
working
stable seed stock that way.
It's a mess.
If you want clones, that's fine, you know, but to get good seeds, you just have to start with a really compatible pair, essentially.
There's another one. Any other local Mendo strains that are mold resistant for the fog and rain?
There are several. I think, you know, anything Pure Kush along with the Royal is very mold resistant.
on. Berry white.
Berry White.
That's out of Laytonville.
Kevin should be answering these
Well,
questions.
no, he'll know. I mean, we're just shooting because we both know, but it's like I just know from clonal form because I hunt stuff that has these resistance. So Berry White's unbelievably resistant, and that's out of Mendo. Purple Effects is another one. I got that from a cat named Tony Mendo. That's a really resistant one, and it's quick. Mold resistant, you know, a lot of mold resistance is really about how you produce the plant, and I think that people are, and Mendocino's in this situation where they're forcing you to do bigger plants than maybe the plant wants to be. If they tell you 25 and you really need 250 pounds to make your business work, that means everything's got to be 10 pounds. But really, you got a couple of these, like I don't like a Royal over 5. And so you're going to drive it to try to get this incredible level of production, and you just make it overly nutrient rich, and it becomes kind of attractive to fungi. And if we had the ability not to have to function in this plant number, I think that you'd see the ability to find a lot of the varieties you guys have would be more resistant. It's just that Mendocino, to me, Mendocino mastered big plant growing on a precision level, where because you get 25, you're doing 25 10-pounders, but you're doing 25 10-pounders of superlative quality. The problem is that plant wanted to be 6 pounds.
Right. And you're pushing it, and it gets stressed out.
And there's nothing you can do about it. And so you're going to lose money, so you can't grow that. And so you end up, it puts you in this weird little position where you're really not in real cultural situations because you don't have freedoms. We have our own issues in Humboldt. Trinity, same thing. Everybody's got their own problems, but most of the stuff you guys have that's coastal solid work, but anything in the Royal lines is super resistant. I haven't seen any of the Royals, even I have the original mother clone, and then everything I've seen hybridized through Leo and Gene is just, Christ, it's all pretty solid. So you have an ability to find lines that are really resistant, and then as long as you drive them to the level of production they're meant to be, you're okay. And that's just really, legality kind of forces us there.
Yeah.
There's a question about where can we get the Royal Kush seeds?
Here at Wonderland. So.
And you must see Wonderland Nursery in Garberville. Where else you selling?
We're working with Healing Harvest.
Healing Harvest in Laytonville. That's Tim Blake, Area 101.
Mendocino, Lovin' It Collective in the town of Mendocino. And
Who's Loving It? Is that, I'm trying to think of her name. I met her. But they're solid too, so forgive me, I can't remember her name. But yeah, you got a couple of locations probably in Mendocino. We're in Garberville, behind the Renner, so you can catch them from us. But you got Tim Blake over Area 101. He's got a killer dispensary, Healing Harvest, and then and Loving It in the town, and then anybody else.
We just work at the shows. You know, we're going to be at all the shows. So if you ever come to the Emerald Cup, just look for us there, or anything else like that. And right now we're working on focusing on our breeding, but we'll be in more and more shops as time goes on.
Killer.
Got a Facebook one if you want.
Yeah, let's shoot.
I had a
Facebook.
Girl Scout stream and wanted to make seed with no males. How do I go about that?
They're gonna have to feminize it. But you know, I tell you, the problem when you start getting into cookie work like that is that if you look at cookie under a genetic viewpoint, like through the Phyllis Galaxy as a DNA piece, it's just covered in genetic material. And so you start going through these massive multi-hybrids of lines, and sometimes you have to ask yourself, what are you really doing? And so before one undertakes a breeding project, one might want to ask what's the real direction, and how much effort are you willing to put into getting that? Because sometimes you're going to end up putting a couple years into a project, and you have to ask yourself, is this really where you want to spend the next couple years at the end? So, you know, basically you're going to feminize this, and you're going to chemically induce stress. Feminization is a process that came from the cucumber industry to simplify cucumber production. But we use it in cannabis, and it allows you to fix traits, and it allows you to hold something because it's only using one gene pool. So you're pulling out the whole male chromosome right out of it, and it allows you to work, but ultimately, why are you doing it? And do you want to have that stock to breed into later? And the problem with cookies is that you have to do some work. So I mean, that's just an opinion of someone who sees a lot of people doing cookie work. It's scattered.
And beyond that, I think feminization just isn't sustainable. You know, you're not going to produce something that's good long term. You might get one generation of something great, but you'll just never be able to reproduce it again.
No,
you know?
yeah,
So,
naturals. I'm a natural. I use all tools to do a job, but ultimately, I think that you have to use. You have to kind of copy landrace concepts, which means that the stuff that I develop myself is really situated for a specific climate because I'm only doing it on my farm, and I'm choosing things that I like. But I'm trying to get a good broad spectrum of males and females so that I can have reproducible stock. And this way I'm capturing as much of the genetic material that each season can provide. And it's a lot of work to go through and do these things. And that's why you don't see so much of it being done. But it's the only way you can have enough genetic material that says in the gene pool I have the genes that survive drought, that survive pestilence, it survived heat. It's there.
Right.
Otherwise, we have to manufacture it with skill, and we're really not that good as much as people would like to believe.
You know, like
better than us.
10 generations into a well-bred line of seed, they'll have all of those mechanisms built in. They'll be able to react to situations that a clone could never react to that way because they've got like hidden genes that are ready to pop up and save the day when they hit some kind of extreme circumstance, you know. And if you're line breeding, like taking one strain and from the same generation breeding together, as opposed to breeding the original mom to a male from the successive generation, you're just locking in certain traits, and you don't have the same access to these tools that you would have if you had been doing it the other way.
You're necking down the population to work with. We good?
Good questions, there's a lot.
All right, want to go again?
Yeah.
Let's shoot.
How do I
Good time?
isolate certain heterozygous traits that I'm looking for?
If they're dominant traits that are very prevalent in the generation you're working with, you'd line breed. But that's, again, it's going to take away from variability that could help you in circumstances that you can't control, but it will lock in those traits. And that's taking a male and female from the same generation and just letting them breed. That can be really good, but you have to be very good at what you do to do that well, essentially.
And I think that people, when they look at plant breeding, they look at the Punted square and they go, all right, I got you. I got short, tall, powerful, weak. And they go, look, it's easy. But when you really do a population, it doesn't quite break up in the Mendelian ratios like people think it does. And you have to interpret the ratios. And you start to take a look at this. And so the science of breeding applied to cannabis is a little different because cannabis contains more information than any other plant you're going to breed. And so simple math doesn't work here because you're talking about traits that are linked, and we're talking about a complexity in chemotype and a complexity in terpenotype and a complexity in morphological characteristics and traits in one package that, holy shit. That's why I think that, you know, we start having marker technology, like I like Predicative. Predicative lets me see traits early, and I can use these things. I like to use the DNA process through phylos to understand what it is I'm actually looking at.
Sure.
So I know what direction to go and what not to put together. But I know ultimately that you have to grow it out all the way and do the damn thing, and science will never replace that.
Yeah.
So the breed is always going to be the breeder no matter how much science works because outliers exist. And it's just really a matter of, you know, how far do you want to go with this and what do you want to do? And the idea that we're going to stamp a strain through male-female methodology that's going to give you exact is rare. Even a patent is only 25% for distinct phenotypes. That's patentable. So if I can get a patent, if I can get 4 phenotypes to pop out specifically, that means that at that level we're still talking 25% accuracy. And that's not the rate people are trying to talk about. People always talk to me about, oh, I'm going to, 90% is going to be identical. And I'm like, that's kind of hard to achieve in general. And so I think some of the goals are really off, and people believe that they're going to do these things that don't exist no matter who does it. And so I think that when you meet breeders, what you're seeing is guys that are willing to chase shit down the street for 100 feet and then realize I'm going the wrong way, and they go back down the street, and they chase it down the wrong street again, and they come back, and they chase it down the wrong street again, and they're the most patient, visionary type people in the industry because they're having to spend years to get to a direction. And I think that really and without payment necessarily. So to me, that's the risk.
You have to have a lot of passion for it.
Yeah, you gotta have some balls too. So
Yeah.
takes a pair. So I think we're hitting it up. We got time on this. All right. So
Awesome.
we're gonna wrap it up. I want to thank so much Ben from Emerald Mountain. It's been a pleasure to have him on the cast, and the people in the parking lot are just going nuts getting a chance to talk to him and check out all the lines, because the stuff that he's working on right now is hot as a firecracker in the system, and it's just to me, it's just awesome that the family still gets to work these lines and propagate it and promote it and preserve it. And I'd like to thank Shango Lass from Shaping Fire for sponsoring our cast. And like I said, go check out the CBD story I did on it. It was fascinating to be able to tell the story of how these strains made it into the United States, who actually worked on them, and how they were released into the public. You got to preserve the history of the world you're in, or otherwise people take it from you, and you'll have no identity. So thank you so much, and I want to thank my crew helping me out here behind the scenes. Lynette, Will, feeling good. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you, Kevin, and you guys as well. We're glad to be here.
Awesome. Thanks.